Hello, everybody. I wasn't planning to record a podcast today. I'm just quite knackered, really. But the beauty of recording a podcast and not showing your face is it's low effort and you can just talk into the microphone and share as much as you can. Hopefully, it will help all of you. And if you saw me right now, if I had to do a video right now, I'd look like a hot mess. I'm looking like a big potato. I'm 8 months pregnant, big belly. I'm just sweating all over the place. Anyway, I'll spare you the details, but I'm just saying there's a lot of value in showing up in the best way you can, in the capacity you can. And to me, this is me just after dinner, and I wanted to share some networking tips and mistakes I've made, because I've made a lot of networking tips, and it's a topic which, especially as a new business owner or somebody who wants to progress in their career, they wonder how they can get better at networking. What was I doing this weekend? I'm just going to share a bit of an update. It was a tough weekend, actually. My mother-in-law's birthday was on Saturday, and it's called a Minds Mass, or a Memorial Mass was on Sunday, so that was deeply emotional and tough on my husband. And I've just been feeling quite overwhelmed with work. I'm trying to rush everything before the holidays in December and my maternity leave. And I guess, if you're listening to this and you feel like you're always behind, I'm there with you. I feel very guilty that I have not rested much on, in my pregnancy. I don't know if anyone else can relate. I have this idea that there's all these women out there who are taking 9 months off and then taking 6 months maternity leave. And I'm sure they're out there. I think, I'm not giving my baby rest. I feel guilty. I feel a lot of guilt that I'm not resting enough. I'm working so much. But I'm working so much because I want to take time off. So, sometimes you don't have balance, and that's normal. So if you're listening to this thinking, I wish I didn't have to work so hard, remember, it's cyclical. Sometimes you have to work hard, sometimes you can rest. And, you shouldn't be working hard all the time. And maybe we shouldn't be resting all the time. But, in my business, certainly, where I don't want to have a big team, I don't want to outsource too much, I want to keep the business lean, I have to do a lot. And so I do have to work hard during periods when I want time off. So I just wanted to reassure you if you are feeling guilty for working so hard and having to do everything. And so, okay, I'm going to get into it now. Networking tips and mistakes. And so I would like to begin this by being very honest with my thought and my belief that I'm not that good at networking. I don't actually think I'm good at networking. I think there's so many people out there that I think, wow, they're super connectors. I have a friend who, she's amazing. Like, she went to Indonesia recently and she was able to meet up with all the CEOs of big businesses and had connections with them. And so there are people out there who are super connectors. And I personally don't think I'm particularly brilliant at networking. However, and I hope I don't sound big-headed, because this is something that quite a few people have told me, they have said to me, you are good at networking, because we were strangers and we became acquaintances, became friends. And I've been told more than once, again, I hope I don't sound like, I've got a high opinion of myself, that I am good at networking. And also, interestingly, whenever I need to reach out to my network for help, for advice, for guidance, they come through. Recently, I asked for some help about some car rental for my sister. Boom, so many people came to help. Whenever I need help, whenever I need a connection, there's always someone in my community that's happy to step forward and help. And also, I truly think the people in my network are high value. I say that from a place where I really value all of you that are here, and the kind of people that I hope that I attract and attract each other are people who are kind, who are driven, who are ambitious, who are, I believe, high value. I don't waste time. I don't want to waste my time and energy around people who don't make me happy, that don't make me feel good. And so I do think I have a strong network. Yeah, I can say that now. I feel that I have a decent network, and I'm going to share some mistakes I made and also some tips if you yourself want to build a strong network. So I'm actually just reading off my notes here. Okay, so I'm going back to my notes. So firstly, my first mistake, number one, my networking mistake was, I thought when I began, and I did not have a network, so I came back to Malaysia when I was living in Spain. So I was living in New Zealand, living in Spain. I came back to Malaysia with zero network. I didn't have, a lot of my school friends had left. I didn't keep in touch with them. I didn't have people in Malaysia. Now I'm in Malaysia. I didn't have a network, and so I started with zero, and everybody else seemed to have friends and people that supported their businesses, and they had a network, and I didn't. And I thought that I was falling behind by not attending all these events, by not joining all these masterminds. And I really felt like I could not have a successful business unless I had a strong network and I was good at networking. That was my belief years ago. I'm here to tell you that belief has changed. Okay? I truly think after years of networking and doing the work and testing and trying, and also times where I haven't networked, the biggest thing that has helped grow my business and get me ahead is not networking. It's me working on my business. Because when you are out there networking, you are not working physically on your business, are you? You're out there making connections in the hope that they will bring more business to you. You're relying on others. Whereas when you are actually physically doing the business yourself, working on your business, I think in the beginning stages, you need to do the work first, right? So for me, I have a blogging business. And so I could try and network, write guest posts, I could attend events, blogging events, industry events, conferences. All this will be great. But the thing that got me ahead in my blogging business was writing content, growing my content, promoting my own content, creating my own products, promoting my own products. Me doing the work, not others promoting me, not others promoting my content. It was me physically in my business, creating and selling products and content. Okay, so that for me is, if you're listening to this thinking, I'm really crap at networking, I really don't think I can have a big business or a successful business because I don't network. I'm here to tell you that at the beginning stages, if you have to pick one thing, it's you working on your business. Networking can come later. It's a nice to have. Okay? So that was a mistake. I had that belief that I thought I couldn't have a successful business unless I was a good networker. And I don't think that's true. You can be a real introvert and not have any connections and still run a really profitable business. I truly believe that. Number two is, I made this mistake, right, where I went through a phase where I was like, I need to pay for masterminds. Everybody's talking about masterminds. And I thought, great, okay, I need to not fall behind here. And I paid for a mastermind. And I found in that mastermind that, unfortunately, the skill set in that mastermind was beginner level, where I was intermediate. So my advice to you is, when you are joining a mastermind, it's important you find out the skill level. Ask the questions on who are the rest of the people attending? What businesses do they have? What stage are they in? Are they at the start of the business? Are they at the middle? And so I remember, like, the one I was attending was an American one. So I would stay up once a week at 3 a.m. I think the mastermind started at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And I would sit there and listen to people ask really basic queries that they could Google themselves. And I was paying for this, and I expected that I would meet people who, they were at a more intermediate level. And that's my fault. That was my mistake. I can't blame anybody else but myself. No, actually, in the sales page of that mastermind, they said they were intermediate and more advanced bloggers. So, that I can take accountability for myself, but also I felt missold their mastermind. And I feel that, I feel like I thought I would meet people who would be at the same kind of business level, so we could help each other. In line with that, I also found that I joined this remote kind of group in Mexico. So I flew all the way to Mexico and joined for a month this remote working kind of tribe. And this was always a dream of mine. When I began, even before I quit my corporate job, I looked at this company of remote workers, and I was like, I really want to join them. And when I got there, it was an amazing experience. But I have to say, like, I had outgrown that dream, because everybody there they were remote working for a company. So they were still working their 9 to 6s, 9 to 5s, and they were still tied to the corporate shackles. Whereas I was hoping to meet people who were digital nomads, and they were working in their own business. And I found that a lot of people in that mastermind kind of group were young, and there were no business owners. And I'm actually still looking for it. So if you know any really good small business owner masterminds, I'd love to hear about them. But yeah, so that's a mistake I made. It's like not really finding out or trying to dig deeper in the skill and the type of people in that mastermind, and the skill level, because you could end up wasting money and wasting time and not really gaining anything. And so, okay, that was my second mistake. Mistake number 3, and this is a big one, right? So it's really hard because, when we're talking about networking, it's all about how we can help each other. I go into networking with that intention. How can I help grow your business? How can you help grow my business? How can we mutually benefit out of this? But I did not realize one of the side effects or consequences of putting yourself out there networking is you may meet the wrong people. And I did not expect this. And this truly, truly messed with my business and my mind for a good solid 2 years. There was a person that I met at this mastermind, right, who we became acquaintances and friends, who completely took advantage of me. I feel they really took advantage of me, and copied a lot of my products, took a lot of my customers. People, it's not like they take your customers, but if you share an idea and you share something with a friend, you don't expect the next day for them to go approach that customer because you told them their customer details, right? And so I had a really, really hard time because I struggled with the concept of, I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to be petty. But at the same time, this person was taking from my business. And especially if they're a friend, they get access to a lot of private information. And it happened again and again. For example, I shared an idea of a membership I wanted to do and a specific unique angle. And they said, oh, that's a great idea. And the next day they launched it. And I just remember feeling really shit about that, And so it took me a good 2 years to eventually cut them off, cut this nutter off. But you just got to be really careful, because I shared my network with this person. I promoted them. I helped them a lot. And they just basically took advantage. And I found out later on, I wasn't the only person that they did that to. There's at least 6 or 7 other people that I've spoken to that this person does it again and again. Was it modus operandi? They become friends, acquaintances, and they take, copy, and then grow their business on the back of others. And really kind of gaslight the person who's a friend, like, oh, you're being jealous, I'm not copying you. And I'm not the only person that has experienced that. So you have to tread with caution is what I'm saying. I don't want to scare you, but don't go in there guns blazing, giving everything and all. You don't have to give everything. You have to tread carefully, give yourself time, be protective of your network, because you took time to build it. I remember at the beginning, I would give all my best writers, I would give all my best VAs, I would give. And it's, just because they're, if someone's a friend doesn't mean you have to take away from your own resources, So that's a third mistake was, I met the wrong people, and I wasn't business savvy. I mixed personal with business, and I said, if they're my friend, I need to give them everything. And that's not the case at all. You network to grow your business, not for people to steal from your business, right? So that was number 3. And number 4, I have to say this is a mistake that I've recently realized that I want to change, okay? It's a learning curve for me. So at the beginning, purely because I needed to pay my bills and I needed to grow my business, I had to be very business focused. And to me, it was all about return on time, right? So if there was an event and they wanted me to speak, if there was an event, I wanted to know how much they're paying me. What am I getting out of this financially? I was very, very much focused on finances because I had to be that way. I didn't have anything else to fall back on. But actually, I realized as time has gone on, there are actually non-financial benefits that will help you in the long run. Um, and I realize this now from some of the events I decided not to do for money, or I did it. Um, I thought I'll give it a go. I'm not being paid, but it's okay. And I realized that actually out of that, I got a lot more long-term benefits as companionships. I felt less isolated. And actually a lot of that audience from those events that I weren't paid for, they ended up buying from me, but later. I had to kind of grow with them. You know, it might take them a year to follow me and engage with me and follow my journey, but they stick around for a long time. So a lot of followers and a lot of customers I have now, actually I realized came when I asked them, they came from events where I wasn't actually being paid to speak there. And I then realized the benefit of actually not just thinking about the immediate financial gain. Sometimes the financial gain is more long term, and sometimes there is no financial gain, but the gain is significant, such as you meet some amazing people who can support your business, who can become good friends and give you kind of moral support, and vice versa. So I think that was a mistake I did at the beginning. I purely looked at it at initial return on investment, quick return on investment. And with networking, it's not necessarily the case. You plant the seed, right? You let it grow. And so that's number 4. Mistake number 5 is I think this came from like imposter syndrome. It comes from me being insecure in the past. Was I felt like I needed to prove myself. Like, why am I worthy of networking with? And so I talked more. When I'm nervous, I talk a lot. I talk more when I'm nervous. But actually, it's not your job to entertain somebody or prove yourself. That is not your responsibility. If there's an awkward silence, there's 2 people in that conversation. It's not your responsibility or job to entertain the other person or prove your worth. And so sometimes it's also actually quite good to sit in a comfortable silence or uncomfortable silence. And I think listening more and talking less. If they ask you, what do? You can tell them, share a bit about your business, but don't dominate the conversation. I know embarrassingly I've done this in the past, and this stemmed from me being nervous. It stemmed from me feeling I needed to prove myself. And so it's okay to listen more and talk less. Let other people talk. And that's mistake number 5. Mistake number 6 was, and this is something that I have noticed, is you can get addicted to helping people. I certainly do, because it gives me a dopamine rush when I help people. I love helping people. You know, you can help them grow their businesses, help them in their lives, you know. But don't help people so much they get addicted to the help they're getting and they don't help themselves. And I certainly noticed this in my journey of networking, where, you know, I got a reputation for helping people. And because my network grew, you know, whenever I shared my network, they would make sales, they would grow their businesses. But every time they had a product launch, they didn't do any promotion. They just came to me to promote it. And I feel like, in a way, I wasn't really helping them by doing the work for them. And yes, we can help promote, but don't do all the work for them because you can. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Networking doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give all your time and resources and help somebody, you know, like let them figure things out by themselves too. You can help them from here, you know, occasionally here and there, but don't be the sole person they come to whenever they you know, they need money in their business. Okay? You got to where you are because you did the work. They're going to have to learn how to do the work too. And that's not being a bad person, that's having good boundaries. Okay? Now, mistake number 7 is I thought that those people with the big networks, with the big audiences, would make the biggest difference in my business. But that actually wasn't true. I found actually there were a couple of occasions where I would collaborate with actually celebrities or big audiences, way bigger than mine, and there would be crickets. And then I would collaborate with smaller people with smaller audiences, and get way more traction and sales. And I realized that people with big audiences it doesn't necessarily mean it will lead to the most engagement and most results. It's all about the engagement they have. So, you know, in a sea of like Instagram influencers, I hate to call myself an influencer. I don't see myself as one, but I guess you could categorize me as one type of influencer. Like in the sea of influencers, my network is super tiny. Was it like 13,000 followers? There's people there with millions, there's people there with 100,000s. But I've been told again and again, when I promote people's brands, when I promote my own products, it leads to sales. Why? Because my community is small and engaged. I take the time, and I'll share in a moment some tips on how I grew that community, you know? So it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, that if someone has a big audience that it will bring big sales in your business. So just keep an eye out for that. And finally, this was a big mistake I made, right? And I have to also be wary of this because I continually do this because like I said, it's a dopamine hit for me to help people. And so I notice sometimes there are people when you network, they're there to take, and not give. And I found that I was promoting them, helping them, giving my time to them. But when it came to my business, I wasn't getting the same favors. I wasn't getting the same energy. So I remember there was one dude, right, who I think I networked with him on Twitter. Yeah, it must have been Twitter. And he had never sold a workshop or a product before. And I have to say, like, we got talking and he was like, oh, I'm not getting any sales. And I said, let me have a look at your sales page. And his sales page was absolute dog poo. It was terrible. But I told him nicely. I said, the reason why you're not getting sales is because of this. But here are some of my sales pages. Why don't you tweak them to make them convert more like my sales pages? And then I shared him with my audience. I bought a ticket to his event. And I really, really tried my best to kind of make his first launch a success. And it was a success. And then when it came to like, and I remember after the event, he like posted on Twitter, he's like, I did it. I made X amount. Huge, you know, I'm hugely proud. I never got a mention, never got a thank you. You know, and I'm not expecting a mention, but I just felt a bit shit, you know? Like he kind of made it sound like he did everything by himself. He was like, I was so scared, but I showed up. I did this all by myself. And I said, you know what? It's okay. I know what I did to help. And then when it came to I remember there was a promotion I had and I kind of mentioned it to him and he never replied. I didn't hear from him. And I thought, that's a bit shit. I spent quite a lot of time helping you with your launch. And, you know, it would have been nice for him to share my product with his audience. But I didn't think anything of it. And then I didn't hear from him for ages. And then suddenly I got a message. And he's like, hey, I'm launching another product. You know, last time went so well. I wonder if we can collaborate again. I just didn't reply because I thought you're not in this the same energy that I am in this. You know, you're just in this for yourself, and that's not how networking works for me. I believe I give, but also you do need to get back in return. You know, especially when you're networking, and networking is business, right? So be savvy about your time and energy. I'm not saying you need to be like super calculative. Like I said, sometimes it's more long-term financial gain. But if you're giving, and you're promoting and then they don't promote you back, they don't mention you back, they don't help you back, and it's been a few times, I think that's a sign that maybe they're not the right person to network with. Okay, so now I'm going to share some tips. And I'm just going to look at the time. Okay, I want to do it less than half an hour, but let's see. Give me a second. I'm trying to see my notes. So here are some tips I have with how I built my network and, you know, that helped me with networking. And so whenever I meet someone new, right, especially in a business environment, I always begin with what value can I bring? What can I offer to them? And vice versa. It's like you are there, you're spending your time and energy away from your personal life to network, right? This is a business. So you need to look at it like a business transaction sometimes. Start with value. You don't want to be like, oh, I want to be friends with you, I want to network with you because you have a big audience. No. You need to start with what skills do I have? What can I bring to the table that can add value to their business? And what can they add value to my business? And when you start from that premise, it really helps with creating a really equitable, productive business friendship, which can turn into a personal friendship later. So start with value. Number 2 is, and this one I really got this advice from a mum. She's really like busy with kids. She has a whole business, and she said, Every second I'm spending, networking, I'm spending away from my business, away from my kids, away from my husband. So I need to make sure when I attend an event, is what she said, when I attend an event, what are we getting out of this? And find out in advance if it's a business meeting or a friend meeting. And if it's a friends meeting, a potential meeting to build a personal connection, that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. But you need to be clear ahead of time. And so recently there was a lady with a strong network here of mums, since I'm becoming a mum, and she kind of wanted to meet up, right? And I asked this girl who knows her, I said, is it worth meeting up with her? What's going on? And she said, from a business perspective, no. I've met with her and it's not, the way that she runs her business is not conducive to you growing yours. I don't know. I mean, she explained a bit more detail in that way, but she said, but as a friend who has a connection with other mums, she's brilliant. And so for me, it's very good for me ahead of time to understand that, okay, I might meet some people and it's okay. I may not gain anything out of it from a business perspective, but that's okay. My expectations are hopefully I'll make a friend who'll help me meet other friends. And having the right expectations ahead of time when you're networking of the type of invite it is really helpful, because you will get, as you get more, as your business grows, as you become more valuable in your skill, more and more people are going to want your time. So you need to be and your time is the most precious thing you have. Imagine it to be gold dust. So you need to be very clear about this time that I'm allocating to this meeting, this event that they're inviting me to. What am I getting out of it? Is it a personal connection? Is it a business connection? And if you're very clear in advance, that doesn't lead to disappointment. Okay? So tip number 4, and I've written here, stop being a competitive ass. And this is big because sometimes, right, like I've networked and I've met people. Like my sister has a physical product business and she attends a lot of markets, and she's pretty good at networking actually. And sometimes I meet some people and I'm just like, why are you like this? It is not a competition, Like, oh, so you're doing this? What market are you going to? Oh, how much is that? Oh, what's your supplier? It's like, boom, I've literally met you in 5 minutes and now you're trying to kind of compete. How many sales are you making? And that turns people off. It is not a competition, guys and girls. I can make money in my business, and if I make money, you can still make money. There's plenty of money out there and a lot of opportunities in business for all of us. And, me being ahead of you doesn't mean you can't also get ahead. And so stop being competitive. It's not a competition. You're there to help each other grow your businesses. So to me, that's a big mistake I see a lot of people make. They say like, oh, they try and immediately try and find out how well you're doing so they know how far behind or far ahead they are. And so tip number 5 is, I put it here, sweat the small stuff. People say don't sweat the small stuff, right? And what I mean by small stuff is, look at how they treat other people, look at their values, because this says a lot about how they run their business. So if I see somebody who they are very lackadaisical about paying their team on time, or they're rude to waiters, they're bad with their money, that's not the kind of person that I want to do business with. If they're really bad with money in their personal life, or they kind of mention, I don't know, they're just unkind. If they're unkind, they make an unkind comment about somebody. To me, this is a red flag, because if somebody's like that in your personal interactions with you, think about how they are in business. And do you really want to do business with someone like that? So sweat the small stuff, especially when it comes to values. Now, tip number 6 is, I find what's really helped me is showing up for other people and, supporting them, like if they have an event, attend if you can, or share them on sharing on social media is free. This is what I don't get, right? Like people, often when you're starting a business, people are quick to buy and support strangers, but you as a small business owner, they don't support you, right? And I always say, if someone's got a new product launch, share it. It's free to comment, like, and share on social media. So as much as you can, show up, reshare, post, it's all free, okay? And I try my best to kind of, whenever somebody has an event or a ticket, either if I can't attend, I'll buy a ticket and I'm just going to pause for a moment. So, I just paused there because I got a call from the delivery driver, and this just shows you the power of a really amazing network. The delivery driver was sending a gift from someone in my community who has become a friend. And it just shows how amazing. She's so thoughtful. She got me a little gift to kind of say, welcome to motherhood. And I'm just so touched. Just beautiful, beautiful, handmade, organic gifts from Borneo. I have a deep passion for East Malaysia. I'm in West Malaysia, and I think East Malaysians are just amazing. Amazing people, amazing culture. Okay? So that just shows, actually, that's just a proof, having an amazing community of what it can bring, the value it brings. I just feel like so touched. So where was I? I said, attend events and support others. So, okay, so for example, right, where possible, I will try and if someone's buying something and I know they have an affiliate link, I say, hey, do you have an affiliate link so I can use your affiliate link? I try my best to support where I can within my capacity. And I think that goes a long way when it comes to networking. You think of other people and how you can help them, even if it doesn't take out of your pocket. And sometimes it might take out of your pocket, and that's okay. Now, tip number 7, and this to me has been a really big game changer, is taking the time to have one-on-one conversations. We think networking is about these big networking events, speed talking with other people, but I found the most value in actually taking the time to build connections one-on-one with people. Having conversations on Instagram, like in-depth conversations, asking people how they are. When they tell you personal information about their family, listen, acknowledge, and also genuinely try and help. Don't sometimes, you do want to gain, grow your business, but sometimes it's nice just to take the time to listen and acknowledge that that person's a real human outside their business. And in line with that, like another tip I have is take the time to listen, acknowledge, and help. And when you help genuinely. Don't just think of the money. The amount of times I've had people in my community or strangers approach me and say, hey, should I do this? Or should I do that? Or what do you think of this? And I could, rather than saying, oh, buy my product or buy that product, I can get an affiliate revenue. I don't go in there with that in mind. I think to myself, how would I wish someone to treat me when I was in their position? So quite often, I'll just direct them to free resources. I said, don't buy my product. You don't need my product right now. Actually, why don't you try this free resources, this free product? And genuinely take the time to help them and listen and have those one-on-one conversations. Because I find that those one-on-one conversations are little seeds that grow into strong oaks. And, I had an in-person event. Was it this year? I can't even remember. It was this year. It might have been the beginning of this year. And I was so shocked to discover that the event was attended by my community online. People that had built a community online attended my in-person event. And a lot of them, over 30 of them, I think there were 40 people at the event, over 30 of them, I say 35 of them, I'd never met before in person. But when I met them, we felt like old friends because of the conversations we'd had online. We'd shared so much with each other. We'd talked. We'd had genuine conversations. And when I met them, it didn't feel awkward. We literally just hugged and felt like we knew each other. And to have that kind of connection with over 30 people, separate people, I think is truly magical. So take the time to get to know somebody, listen, acknowledge, help, and genuinely help. Doesn't necessarily just mean that it brings money into your business and your wallet. Be a human being. And I just want to end, this podcast with this tip, right? Ultimately, I see networking a bit like dating. Well, separate but different, separate but same. When you go into the dating world, if you're too desperate and if you aren't confident in yourself, people will smell that desperation and you will attract the wrong people. So it's kind of the same in networking, right? If you go in there like, how can you help my business? How can you grow my business? I'm just new. I need help. People will smell that desperation and you'll turn people away. You'll turn the good people away and you'll attract the wrong people. You need to begin by having your own value in your business, having your own confidence, building your own business, working on your business first, and having a skill. Develop a skill that you're good at and keep practicing it. and be proud of that skill or that experience you have. Then that confidence will shine through when you network. Don't just go in there with, what can I get out of this? What can I give? What can I bring to the table at this networking event to this person? And I feel like when you go in there with that attitude and that mindset, you will gain a lot from networking and you can build a strong networking community. Okay, well, I have to go now. It's getting late. So I just wanted to share those tips. I hope you found that useful. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear from you actually, like any mistakes you've made, any tips you have about networking, because this is a minefield. A lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people could benefit from you. So in the comments, I would love to hear any mistakes that you've made or any tips you have when it comes to networking. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next week.